Great. Awesome. So we are already streaming. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our live stream. My name is Hani, and today I have a special guest, Bill from Maryville College. And today we will talk about liberal arts. So let me start with introducing Education USA, which is a network that provides free, accurate, and comprehensive information about studying opportunities in the United States. So if you're listening and you are thinking about applying to the United States to any university or any college, you can definitely reach out to me or to any Education USA center that you will find. And we'll be happy to help you with your questions and walk you through all the process that you'll be facing. So this is something that I can definitely provide. We can meet online, or I am based in Prague in the Fulbright Commission on Malá Strana. So we can meet in person as well, because now we can, which is great. So this is about Education USA. And on the next slide, we are going to share that apart from the Education USA Center, we also have American centers all around the Czech Republic. So if you are from Ústí, Plzeň, Brno, Olomouc, or Ostrava, you can definitely visit our American centers that usually have libraries and advisors as well. So if you need some basic advising, you can definitely reach out to them, and they'll be able to help you in the beginnings, and then later on, they can definitely give you my email address and I can help you further. And when it comes to our free services, feel free to join our seminars and webinars like this one. We switch from webinars to live stream so that it's convenient for you and you can watch it when you want. But feel free, we also have some hangouts with students who are also applying to the United States. We have a library in Prague, so if you are currently preparing for SATs that you can take in August, actually, and you still need more resources, feel free to send me an email and I'll be happy to give you some books. And we offer consultations, again, in person or online, and you can just send me an email, send your first questions, and then we can either email back and forth, or I'll be happy to schedule a consultation and answer all your questions you might have. Also, if you scan the QR code, that will give you our monthly newsletter, which includes information about US higher education system, as well as some news and maybe like to-do lists for you. So if you're in the 3rd or entering the 4th grade, this might be a good source of information for you what to do so that you are on track with your application process. And you can find us on social media as well. So the handle is Education USA Czech. Then I'm sure that Will is going to share his handle on social media, but you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And on YouTube, there will also be a recording of this live stream. So I'll pass it on to you, Will. So welcome and thank you again for joining us today.
Děkuji vám, Hani. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. And I second everything that you just said about Education USA. So thank you for hosting this. And if you have any questions, please reach out to Education USA. Later on, of course, you'll have my email as well. So anything regarding liberal arts or just life, you can email me. I'm happy to offer some kind of guidance. Hopefully it's not all terrible.
And by the way, I'm going to say something about Will. He does speak Czech a little. So this is something incredible that he, when he wrote me his first email, it was partially in Czech. So guys, feel free to say at least the greetings in Czech because Will can handle it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that might be a stretch, but thank you. I did used to live in Prague and used to frequent Cafe Sladkovsky. If you've been there in Wierszowice. So many pints in that cafe pub. But yes, so anyways, super happy to be here. Love Czech Republic. And let's just get started, I guess. I know it's kind of talking to you, Hani, but hopefully other people are also out there. What are some of the stereotypes, or what have you heard about liberal arts colleges or education?
Well, I always imagine a person either like painting or because as I mentioned, I don't think that we have it in the Czech Republic. So I imagine like those artists probably, I would say, but I'm sure that you will give us the proper definition.
That's really good. Okay, that's a perfect, that's a great answer. And again, it's kind of rhetorical as well, since some students are on Facebook. But how about this one, just before we get into the definition? So true or false, you mentioned painting. Liberal arts colleges are only for people wanting to study painting. Is that true or false?
I hope it's false.
Okay. Yeah. So Hani is saying false. And that is not true, right? That's definitely not true. Liberal arts, of course, you can study painting, you can study fine arts, but they offer much more subjects and studies than just that one. So we had to put in a little Star Wars reference. Here is a very brief, kind of a more academic definition. A liberal arts college is a type of higher education institution whose curriculum is designed to promote learning across multiple disciplines, engage in experiential learning, and achieve outcomes that are essential for work, citizenship, and life. So, and that's kind of a baseline definition. It just means it prepares you for what comes next, right? What comes after you graduate from college. And it kind of prepares you for a career in whatever you want to do, whatever you want to serve, how you want to do that. It really gets you all the basic necessities to kind of set you up for that first job and then on. Here's another kind of cheeky definition. Regardless of the industry, we need people who can solve problems, write well, speak well, bring multiple perspectives to decision-making. We need people who are good managers, who are cross-culturally competent. And this is something that we see a lot, I feel like, here in America, where these kind of basic skills, these life skills, they're not so basic or obvious anymore. So, you can learn all these technical things that will get you a job and hopefully a career. But if you can't do the kind of basic, the people problems, the public speaking, the writing, you're not going to get very far, even with the more technical or advanced skills that you have. So that's kind of the liberal arts idea, to be holistic, to get you a little bit of everything, to prepare you for anything, essentially. And so that, again, all of that is the liberal arts.
It's something very typical for the US higher education, that holistic approach that we are not very familiar with. And I'm trying to explain it to students, but sometimes it's really hard for them to grasp it. But here, as you said, those are skills for life that really summarizes that, what I'm trying to convey here. So that's great. And I think that we should all take like this way, because then you, as you said, you meet people who are perfectly skilled, but they cannot talk to you about it because they're just so in their universe. So this is great. Yeah.
I mean, that was very well said. Yeah, that's an excellent point. And it's true, right? I mean, even we're seeing this with of course, the generation going to college now will be very, aware of and savvy with computers and things like that. But, even the basic skills of like an Excel or PowerPoint, we get people here that don't necessarily, know how to do presentations or things of that nature. And again, that's so kind of basic that a holistically approached education will solve that issue. You'll have that life skill, and then you can move on and give a presentation on whatever you're passionate about or whatever interests you. So just a little bit of a sidebar, but to follow up with what you said. Characteristics, though, of liberal arts colleges. So what exactly does that mean? Probably the most common assumption, or kind of the base ingredient of a liberal arts college, is its size. So usually around 1,500 to 3,000 students here in America, right? So they are smaller institutions. And with that comes a smaller class size. So, for example, our college, Maryville College, has a 12-to-1 student to faculty ratio. You're not going to get higher than really 15-to-1. And that kind of connects with number 3 on this list, connecting to faculty. But what that means is you're not just a name on a roster or a student ID number. You are you. So your professor knows you. They know what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, what you do well, what you don't do well, what you need to improve on. It's very personalized. And that goes a long way over 4 years of really gaining not just, insight and hindsight from a professor, but also a wisdom, experience, all of this. And that's something that's very traditional for liberal arts colleges. Experiential learning, the number 2 on this list, that's also a big part of it. So you get out of college, right? You just graduated and you apply for your first job and it says, okay, minimum work experience 2 or 3 years. That's such a hard thing to do when you've been in college for 4 years and you're 21, 22. So liberal arts colleges try to merge those two things together, where you don't just do the academic and theoretical practicum. You also have the actual work experience, the practical practicum, and you kind of blend those two together. So starting from your sophomore year, you might do an internship or volunteer or work somehow to get credit, building that work experience, getting you those 3 years necessary to then get a good job once you graduate. Connection to faculty, we mentioned. Number 4 is a big one. Usually liberal arts colleges will be just bachelor's degrees. So usually only undergraduate degrees. It might be a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Music, but usually just a 4-year bachelor's degree. So not
and
a lot
when
of
do they and when do they usually continue? What kind of graduate studies do students from liberal arts colleges do usually go to?
That's a great question. That's kind of the nice thing about a liberal arts college, is that you can go really anywhere with a degree from a liberal arts college. There's actually an interesting study that I was looking at that said regarding PhD applicants and candidates, more come from liberal arts colleges bachelor degrees than not. So it's really, it opens the whole world to you. And again, if you study pre-law, for example, here at Maryville College, you have a great gateway to go to law school afterwards. If you want to do medical stuff, you can do pre-med here, and you get all the kind of basic holistic education for a medical profession. And then you go on to the specialized kind of more focused med school afterwards. So it really gives you many options, academic and non-academic as well.
Great. Thank you.
And that kind of ties into number 5, the critical thinking, the problem solving, the adaptability, kind of going into the history of this, which I'll touch on later. But, originally liberal arts colleges were for giving, and it was men, let's be real, giving men options to serve, to be public servants. And a lot of these things come from that, the rhetoric, the kind of debating skills, the adaptability, things up here. So colleges have tried to keep that tradition, at least with this part, in line. Of course, you can study anything now. There's still this kind of granular baseline focus in curriculum in terms of problem solving and analytical thinking. So
that's great.
Are we doing okay, honey? Are we having fun?
I mean, yeah, this is just amazing, because this I would love to repeat it for Czech students, just so they remember it. You cannot study medical school at your undergraduate level. So it's not as it is in the Czech Republic, that you would study for 6 years and you would, get the degree. In the United States, you study pre-med at the undergraduate level, and then you can apply to medical school. So this is why Will mentioned that it's great to start off at the liberal arts college, and then you have open doors to apply to any medical school. And that's the same with law. So those are some typical differences from the Czech higher education system, that you don't usually study these medical law and theology, medicine law and theology at the undergraduate level. You study it later at the graduate level. So that's why this is a good opportunity for you to get the bachelor's degree. Yeah.
Interesting. That's very fascinating. Yeah. So a little bit different, and we can go from there. But yeah, thank you for that insight. Let's pop over here again. This is more for a student question, but this is a fascinating painting, Cote de Master from the 1400s. And it's philosophy presenting the 7 liberal arts to Boethius, who was a Roman senator. And that's over here on the left. Right, here's philosophy personified. And for students, what are the 7 liberal arts, right? Kind of depicted here. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but there's clues for each person. And it's understandable. I can give away the answer since it's just.
Oh, please do. Don't let me guess.
So yes, we'll come over here, but depicted there, grammar, geometry, rhetoric, music, arithmetic, astronomy, and logic. And again, those were the 7 traditional liberal arts. As I mentioned, things have definitely kind of varied since the 1400s, but we still have a little bit of that trickle down throughout the curriculum and the practicum. And these were, again, the things that were kind of important to learn if you wanted to be a good leader in life. And so that part is still true about liberal arts colleges. And the whole liberal arts, where that comes from, is from liberation, from liberating the mind, liberating the arts. And that goes back also to the 1400s to try to get away from the theological education that was being taught and kind of getting a more humanity, social science approach to education. So things like this, like the rhetoric and the arithmetic. So that's actually where the name liberal arts comes from, liberating the arts. So, a little bit of history.
Is it kind of similar, like way of thinking, way of teaching as it is at American high schools? So, when they transfer from high school, is it also like liberal thinking oriented, or is it completely different?
That's a great question. It is similar. You are right in kind of that conventional, high school. You do get a little bit of everything. Here, it's just a little bit more, I don't want to say intellectual, but, a little bit more heightened, of course. Like it's a little bit more in-depth, strenuous, rigorous, So, you get the very minimum in a high school education. Here, you get a little bit more fine-tuned, a little bit more focused. That's a great question. Yeah. Okay, well, cool. Let's keep on going. Oh, yeah. So I thought interesting. Yeah, I've got a weird sense of humor, I guess, and there are a couple more gifts here. So just a little.
That's cool.
Here's the structure, though. We talked about this a little bit. Comprehensive, right? Holistic. That's probably the key word of the day. Is a holistic experience, holistic education. Flexible choices. So you can study. Again, a little bit of anything that interests you to be prepared for everything that comes with life. And so if you want
you mentioned that you can be Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science and so forth. So these people would study a little different subjects to get a Bachelor of Arts or the Bachelor of Science, correct?
Correct. Yes. And I'll touch on that here shortly. But yes, I mean, if you're a Bachelor of Science, if you're studying biology, you'll still focus a little bit more on sciences. You'll study your major, but you'll still have the English. You'll still have the philosophy, the math. You'll still have a little bit of everything to build you up as just a skill set, while still being allowed to pursue your interests and your hobbies and passions.
Great. And when do you choose? In what year do you choose if you want to be the Bachelor of Science and focus more like in a scientific way, and the Bachelor of Arts?
That's also a great question. You can choose whenever. I mean, there is a minimum requirement for your major. So I'll just pop over here. This is answering your question. So this is the curriculum.
Oh, all right.
Okay. And this is kind of a nice metaphor to look at a liberal arts credits education. So 120 is the magic number in American education for credits to graduate. And so usually at a liberal arts college, you'll take about 51 credit hours of the liberal arts education. What I just mentioned, the philosophy, the psychology, the English, the second language, things like this. You'll pair that with your major courses. So you'll still take 35 to 50 courses of, if you are a Bachelor of Science biology major, of biology or something of that nature. So you're still definitely, you're not just, skirting around the edges on this major. You really are focusing on this as well. So you're not just, you learn a lot about your major. I don't want to understate that. and then maybe a minor, right? So you kind of have a major, a minor, maybe your second interest or something that's more fun for you. Maybe it's theater or photography, something that you love to do, but maybe you don't want to pursue it as a profession. And then again, you have your kind of your work experience, your internships, your volunteering, and then you kind of have your extracurriculars. And this kind of goes back to the size as well, because liberal arts colleges are pretty small. There's a big social atmosphere. Most kids live on campus, most students. So there's always something going on, whether that's an organization, sports, again, theater, events in the town where you're located. There's all these things going on. And of course, that is a real educational experience in itself, right? The people that you meet, the places that you go, the things that you do. So that's kind of the cake analogy, if you will. And I hope that answered some of your questions.
It did. And before we go back to that slide that I made you skip, I would like to ask you about the experiential education, because you mentioned what was it? Not really part-time jobs, but it was mostly like working experience. Does this also involve international students? Because I know that there are some regulations regarding their work experience and that they can only work on campus for maximum of 20 hours. So how does it work with international students?
That is an excellent question. And yes, so I can't speak for every liberal arts college, but yeah, it usually is the 20-hour work. You can work off campus as well, at least for us. And that is true throughout the year if you want to pursue that option. A lot of it is going to be the internships and kind of volunteering as well. So ideally, you'd get a mixture of all three of those, right? Work, intern, and volunteering. And again, that will vary from college to college, state to state, perhaps. But we, for example, here at Maryville College have a big tourism subject, kind of a hospitality, tourism. And we have partners with the community, with the region, that will send international students to work at a lodge, for example, or to work, in kind of a resort area. And that is a big draw for a lot of international students who study here at Maryville College to get that experience at like a 5-star, kind of posh environment. So it depends.
Beautiful.
But yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, I recommend it. If you come to visit, honey, I recommend that lodge. It's fantastic.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
It does. It does. Yeah.
Well, just super briefly, I think we actually kind of covered this. So practical experience, major courses, all that jazz. Let's look a little bit more broad at liberal arts colleges. Where are they located? This is just kind of a generic picture, but I think it does kind of illuminate where a lot of these colleges are. And we kind of took the liberal arts, to say we Americans took the liberal arts college from really Oxford and Cambridge. And so you kind of see a lot of them are in the Northeast because of the trajectory coming over from England. And then you kind of scatter down. Of course, we're in Tennessee, where I live, which is down here. There's 4 here, but a lot of Northeast, and then of course California. I mean, California has everything. So, but yeah, just kind of a nice layout of where a lot of these colleges are. And I think one of the cool parts, or one of the most interesting things, is looking when you're looking for a college, the campuses. I mean, this is definitely a true stereotype. They're also gorgeous. I mean, they're also historic, beautiful. They're well kept, right? A lot of them are private, so they have kind of well manicured lawns, and everything is nice and appeasing to the eyes. So let's take a look at some of these campuses just briefly. And you can kind of picture yourself, like, if I were a student there, life would not be so bad. It's not terrible waking up to this or walking.
I mean,
around.
Look at the view, right? It's gorgeous.
So this is Pomona College out in
California, of course.
Very beautiful. And you can think like, wow, this would not be a bad way to spend 4 years of my life. So I've got a couple of these slides. Here's one in Kentucky, where I'm from. This is Center College, very, very beautiful as well. This one is up in Maine, right up in the Northeast. Colby College, very beautiful. harsh winters, but we won't dog them too badly. It's all good. Amherst College, which is in Massachusetts, very famous school, very great school. And then I think, we'll just end briefly. Maryville College. I'll come back to this, of course. I work here, so I am a little bit biased. But very nice, and we're right in the mountains. That's a big draw for a lot of students. So.
Of course, yeah. I'm sure that all students who are watching are like, oh, let me be there. Yeah.
It is really nice. Yeah, it's not bad. So, and there's a connection to this photo as well, because he's a famous American actor. His name's Chevy Chase, and he is an alumni of a liberal arts college. So I was he tied those two things in together.
That's smart. Yeah.
And I just wanted to showcase, I mean, of course, there are many successful alumni from all these liberal arts colleges, but you really have, you run the board in terms of what people have gone on to do successfully. So you have a lot of politicians, you have a lot of public servants, you have actors, you have comedians, you have business owners, you have CEOs, you have developers, founders of companies. You really get kind of everything of these people who have studied and graduated from liberal arts colleges. And of course, as a student, that's great for you because that's also a network, right? That's a way to get into a company or a job, because people have been successful. They want to help, people out of a similar background, of a similar college. So that says, I think, a lot about kind of the long-term, how to get your foot in the door. People have been successful before you, so you're good to go. Hopefully you have an automatic connection somewhere when it comes time to look for a job. So
I actually have a question, because there is a different terminology regarding colleges and universities. We don't have that. And you always mention that those are called liberal arts colleges. So can you explain to the listeners or, people who are watching us, why there is not liberal arts university, or if there is, what is the difference between the college and the university in these terms?
That's a great question. So colleges and universities, and they're kind of interchangeable to an extent, to a point. You'll hear it both, I'm going to college this summer or this fall, or I'm going to university this fall. College, though, is usually going to be more smaller in size, I guess. And so even on university campuses, so for example, we're in Eastern Tennessee, there's a big state school, there's a university not too far from us. 27,000 people. On that campus, on that university campus, they have colleges. So your College of Arts, for example, your College of Pharmacy, it is a part of that university, where it makes up the university as a whole. So you might have 10 colleges make one university, or you might have a liberal arts college, which is the entire college itself. So it can be a little confusing, I guess, but I guess my point would be they're interchangeable. There isn't necessarily one definition that, separates those two, but university is going to be bigger for sure.
Does it exist, liberal arts universities? Or is it just no? Okay.
Yeah,
so you always say college.
Exactly. It's always going to be liberal arts college for sure.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. That's a great question, though. Yeah. And another part of that, and this is not always true for universities, but liberal arts colleges are going to be private, right? These are private schools, private colleges, where universities, of course, may be public or state run. So that's also a little bit of a difference, the private versus public side. But you're asking all these great questions, Hani. I'm very impressed.
Well, it's also new to me, so I'm just I am sure that students might be interested, and because they're not here, I'm trying to kind of read their mind and ask it for them.
You're doing great. You're asking some fantastic questions. So, and do you recognize, any of these other names up there, Hani? Any famous alumni?
I actually recognized the Valerie Smith, who is the president of the Swarthmore College, because I had a student who applied to Swarthmore College. So I read all his essays, and it's amazing. So that's where my eyes kind of stood. And I remember the first lady who unfortunately passed away. Madeline Albright. Yeah, but yeah, amazing.
From Prague, right? I mean, that's a Czech connection. So
exactly. Yeah.
Great person, great people. Okay, cool. I think we're good on that. We can come back, of course, but yeah, a lot of successful people have come from liberal arts colleges. Benefits of liberal arts education. We don't have to go too much into this, but you are prepared for life ahead. I mean, you're prepared for what comes next. That's basically the idea of this. And again, you have a great foundation for graduate school if you want to pursue that option, for a PhD if you want to pursue that option as well. And a valuable community member like that. That's we all.
That's amazing. Yeah. But is there any graduate like study major that you cannot pursue after graduating from liberal arts education? Is there any graduate major?
Not that I can think of. No. I mean, even like the kind of specialized, like a nursing or a pharmacy, right? Those are kind of specific degrees. No, we offer both of those here at Maryville College. So you're not limited to anything. Awesome.
Great. Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. And I think I've got just one more. Again, this is kind of skills. We've talked a lot about this, but analytical, critical, numerical, writing, all these things, just trying to get everybody prepared for that job, that career ahead. So we don't have to go too much into this, but
I mean, I would be probably a little scared about the math inside of all of that, because I was more of the educational major and I wanted to be a teacher and so forth. So I know that knowing a little bit of math, but this is like numerical skills and so forth. So I'm not sure like how much in depth do you go in all of these like liberal arts, but I'm sure like it's good to know it. I'm sure it is. But sometimes I can understand the fear of students who would like to pursue science, that they don't want to take that much of philosophy and so forth. Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree, honey. I was not a math person either. So you and I we can bond over that for sure. But yeah, and again, it's not super like, we don't have to go too into it, but just the basic, right? Kind of get you the basic idea and concepts. So.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
And I think that the ability to pose meaningful questions or to work in a team, that's something that every employer can really appreciate, that, you are ready for life. So this is amazing. Yeah. The ethical decision-making skills sounds very interesting to me. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Also important, especially, now 2022, some big ethical questions are coming at us, honey. So we need to be prepared.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. All good. Okay. Well, let me just move on. Okay. So that's we're almost at the end. Everybody is saying thank you. But just briefly, let me touch on Maryville College. My boss would be unhappy if I didn't do this. I would be
unhappy too. So
yeah, honey,
have to do it.
You might pop over. Yeah. We are one of the oldest institutions in America, over 200 years old. About 1,200 students, as I mentioned earlier. So we kind of fit nicely in that average class size for a liberal arts institution. 60 academic programs, the research, the career prep. I think I mentioned this. And this is something that we didn't talk about, but the financial aid. There is kind of a stereotype that liberal arts colleges, because they're private, are more expensive. I would say that's not true. Because at a lot of liberal arts colleges like ours, there's a lot of merit scholarships because of the endowment. There's a big merit scholarship base. So it usually averages out to be about the same cost as a public university, as a state university as well. So I would just say if something looks super expensive from a liberal arts, price tag, look at then the scholarships available, and it should average out to be about the same of a total tuition from a state university or public university. So just a little, don't be scared of the price tag. We give about 25,000, 20 to 25,000 on average. This says 50, 26. And there is one full tuition scholarship a year. That's a competitive scholarship. It's like an additional essay It's not too strenuous, I promise. And
is that available? Is it available for internationals to also like compete for the full tuition scholarship?
Absolutely. Yeah. So cool. There's the International Diversity Scholarship, which is for international students only. And then there's 4 international diversity fellowships, which are about $30,000 a year. So there's really 5 $30,000 plus scholarships only for international students every year. So,
that's amazing. Oh yeah. Cool.
We love international students. Yeah.
That's great. I would also ask you about, because students usually have to take SATs or ACT tests, and they have to submit some language tests. So what are your prerequisites? Like, what do they have to send ahead, if you can share with us?
That's a great question. Yeah. So we are a test optional school. So no SAT, ACT. If you have done them, or if you scored well, of course, send it. It only helps your chances for that full ride or full tuition scholarship. We do have a language proficiency, requirement that varies, but that can be TOEFL or IELTS or Duolingo.
Is it Duolingo? Right. Yeah.
Probably Duolingo. And there's more information. I can send that out on what like the minimum is, but I feel like, Czech, you guys are good English speakers. So I'm not too worried. And some countries are exempt. And also, if you've scored high enough on a test score, you can also be exempt. So kind of going back to the SAT, ACT, or AP classes, or, baccalaureate, there are ways to get around the English thing. But
that's great. That's great. If our students have like any questions admission related, they can contact you directly, or is there someone else?
Yeah, no, I hope they do contact me. Yeah, please contact me. So yeah, I'll just say very, very quickly, I just want to touch that we are in the Smoky Mountains in East Tennessee. Really good spot to be. A lot of businesses are moving to Tennessee, so it's really good for internships and job placements. And then, that number 5 up there, the 5th best college in the South. That's out of 150 schools. So we're very, very happy with that ranking. But to answer your question, Bonnie, there's my email, right? So shoot me an email, even if it's not Maryville College related. I'm happy to give as objective of an opinion as possible for other schools. Or again, if we want to talk, Czech football, right? I'm happy to do that. Things of that nature, great bars in Prague, things, anything related to Czech Republic, I'm happy to try to answer. So
no, I mean, this is amazing. Please, everyone, write down Will's email address and get in touch with him, because this college sounds really good to me. Like in general, the liberal arts is something that if I could, I would go back and I would study this, because I really feel it's a good preparation for life. And thank you, Will, for sharing all the information. I really feel that Maryville is very generous for, international students and with the curriculum that you have for them. So guys, if you're unsure, just take a look. I actually checked, the website is very clear, but if you have any additional questions, feel free to shoot Will an email. If you have any questions for Education USA in general, feel free to write to advisor@fulbright.cc. That will be me. And I can definitely connect you to Will as well. So
awesome. Yeah, well, hey, thank you so much, Ani. Thank you, everybody who's watching. And I hope to hear from you soon. So
all right, perfect. Thank you, Will. And we will stay in touch. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Let me stop the